Welcome back to another G Auto Repair YouTube video. And today we're working on a 2018 Ford Transit, a 350 HD. We're doing rear brakes. Now these brakes look kind of intimidating, but they're really not that bad. And I'm gonna actually go on a step-by-step instructions on how to do it. The first thing, obviously, we want to secure the jack because of the weight and the size of this truck. I had to use two jacks, 3-ton jacks, because I don't have anything heavier duty. So what I did is I first lifted up the frame as much as I could safely lift it up, and I put a jack stand there to support the frame. And then I came here to the rear axle and jacked it up to where I can get the wheels off the ground, and then also put a jack stand there on the leaf spring just in case something happens. It'll catch it and it won't hurt me or anything like that. So I just have that there just in case this fails. It'll somewhat catch that spring there as best as possible. But the real weight is on the truck, not so much on the axle, so that jack should handle that. The first thing we do, obviously, is we take out the wheels. This is a dually in the rear, so we take off the 6 lug nuts, pull the wheels out. I've already done that, and that exposes the rotor and caliper. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to remove these two. Well, we're gonna start here first. These two 13mm bolts. And then we're going to remove the 15mm anchor bolts here for the bracket, and then we got to do remove the rotor. Now this is a little weird, but it's not that difficult. So I'm going to pass the camera to my son here, who's going to be the cameraman for the day, and we'll get straight into it. Hopefully you guys can hear me all well. So we're gonna start taking off the 2 bolts here for the caliper, and we're gonna use a crescent wrench. I'm gonna put that over here. Now we're gonna go down here. Here we are. We're gonna have to compress this later, but we need a special tool to do that. I'm gonna show you guys what the deal is. As you can see, this was pretty much metal to metal. The other side was worse, but we're gonna get a closer look here as soon as I get this out. So this is gonna be 15mm here. There we go. We're gonna go over here. There you go. Now these positions here are kind of off. So now that I've loosened it, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit it with the air ratchet. And there you have it. The bracket is out. I'm gonna put these aside, and as we can see here, see how bad these really were. I mean, it was already starting to rub on the metal here. Look at that. And this car doesn't have that many miles. Had like 33,000 miles on the odometer. Not too bad. But this is a plumber, so he's all over the place, all over South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, and I think all the way up to West Palm Beach or something like that, he told me. So he's racked up a lot of miles since he's gotten it. So now this is the weird, funny part. We have to remove the axle in order to get the rotor out, but this piece stays here. Okay, the design of the rotor allows it to where you can loosen it from the back, rotate it, and slide it out. So if you look at this for the first time like I did, I was like, what the heck, this looks kind of weird, but it's not that bad. I thought I had to take out the whole, you know, the bearings and all that good jazz. No, that's not necessary. So 15 millimeter, 6 of them. Have it. Now you want to put a pan underneath so you can catch it. Oh, there we go. So you're just gonna slide this bad boy out, position it over there, and you're gonna have a little bit of leakage there, but that's fine. Now this will start to free spin. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wipe my hands off real quick. I'm gonna go get a rag. Alright. So now to get these bolts, if we go back here, there's gonna be 6 of them, also 15 millimeter. Right there, and we're just gonna rotate and get them out one by one. Boom, 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 boom. Six of them. So to do that, I use .15 millimeter swivel. Get them out one by one. Christ. Now we're going to separate these from the other two because they're similar. I want to make sure they all go where they belong. That's 3. Okay. Position is not that great. All right, so we got 6 of them out. So now this rotor is loose. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate, boom, slide it right on out. There she is. Not that bad. Now in order to get it back in there, reverse operation. Now something to be very careful. The ABS sensor is right down here. So under no circumstances do you want to loosen a bolt, especially when you're putting it back in, and then rotate this, because look what's gonna happen. See? Blam. You could damage that sensor right there. So you definitely want to be careful with that. Okay? You don't want to have loose bolts and then try to spin this, because you could damage that sensor. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the rotor and the pads, and I'm gonna have everything kind of in position so we can put everything back together. Give me a moment. All right, so we got our new rotor right here. Okay, now what we want to do is we just want to spray with brake clean to get that film of oil that they apply so it won't rust. We don't want none of that oil on there. So we're gonna just take that off. So if you notice, we got this little ridge here. It's gonna be facing outward. So to put it back in, we're simply gonna line up everything, push it in, rotate it, and put the bolts. So there's 6 bolts. We're gonna go one by one. Start putting them. Okay. Now remember, I don't want to spin this with that bolt out because I don't want to run the risk of damaging that sensor. Now technically you could just loosen the sensor and pull it out. That way you don't have that problem. If you feel better doing it that way, I recommend you do. Okay, I'm not gonna tighten it completely. Just want to get it enough to where okay, start it by hand. There we have it. This is number 2. Another one here, and we're gonna tighten it. There we go. Now we're gonna put the rest of them in. Start by hand. You always want to start bolts by hand so you won't cross thread them. Okay. Put that one in there. These swivels are always now we want to hit them all one more time. You have it. And we want to spray all this down, make sure none of that oil stays there. But I'm gonna go ahead and first spray the back part. Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spray this part here. We're going to install our axle back in. Gonna rotate. And now we're gonna, there we go. Beautiful. Now there's an O-ring there that'll seal it from all the gear oil. So you should lose very minimal. Not enough to really worry about it. Obviously you always want to check your level afterwards and correct it if needed. So we're gonna do a regular 15. And there you have it. That part is done. Now we're gonna go ahead and compress the caliper, the piston of the caliper. So what we're gonna use for that, actually I already have it out here, is this tool right here, where you turn it and it'll turn and press in at the same time. So to mount it, let me reposition myself here. I'm gonna drive it back all the way. We're gonna put the notches in here, and now we're gonna drive this part, so we can apply a little bit of pressure. Now we're gonna use a 14mm socket and ratchet, and we're gonna turn it. So the whole idea is that it should turn the piston and push it in at the same time. Sometimes it's a little difficult to get started, so give me a moment here to. You have to have a real good grip on this thing. Some are more difficult than others. I'm gonna loosen this up a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna loosen it up so I can move it around. Alright guys, finally got it going. I was actually going the wrong way. This one's a little bit different from the other side, but there's a little arrow here that tells you which direction you're supposed to spin the piston. But this one is in a very jacked up situation, so I gotta kind of compress and turn a little bit here and then compress here. So I gotta, after a while of doing this, I finally got it, because this is like the most difficult one I've seen so far. So we just compress. When it gets tight, I rotate here to reset the tool, and then I go and compress until it gets tight. Then I reset the tool again here, and I do it all over again until it's fully compressed. Yeah, because I kept spinning and spinning and spinning. I'm like, what is going on here? But that's what the deal is. Alright, so once that is completely tight and compressed, we can go ahead and remove it. There we go. See, now we see that it's completely compressed in there. Okay, so now we can, I went ahead and put the bracket in there too. Let me make sure that it's tight. Put the new pads on there, see how thick these are. Compared to the old ones that are pretty much nothing. So we're gonna slide this back in here, and it should go in there relatively smoothly. I always like to check these to make sure they're not seized or anything. Well lubricated, they feel like they're fine, perfectly lubricated. So now I just slide my caliper back on and get these two bolts here. And we're gonna put the bolts back. Got a little bit of traffic coming through here. All right. And we're gonna let the power tool do the rest. I'm gonna tell you, this is actually a 13. FUBU there. Okay, nice and tight. Nice and tight. And there you have it. New brakes on this Ford Transit. Not too bad once I finally figured out this side. The other side was a lot easier for some reason, but we got it on there. So now all we got to do is put the wheels back on there and lower it. We're good to go. Remove the jacks and the jack stand, and we're good to go. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I apologize, this video was a little crazy and lengthy. That piston kind of took me for a loop there for a minute. But it happens. I'm sure you guys can understand. Y'all have a good one. See you on the next video. Ciao.